Vermont-made music, old and new, on 105.9 The Radiator. Made possible by BigHeavyWorld.com.
This is WOMMLP operating out of Burlington, Vermont, 105.9 The Radiator. It's the Rocket Shop. I'm your host, Tom Proctor. With me tonight is Giant Peach. How's it going, guys?
It's going great. How are you doing, Tom?
I'm pretty good. Just the two members this evening. You usually have a few more than that.
It's a bit of a broken social scene these days. Kind of subscribe to the idea that the more people you have that know your music, the better. And yeah, it's been good as people move to different places to and from. It's been nice to just have people coming through.
Right.
But this is a really good setup. This is one we're comfortable with. I've got Thomas with me.
Hey.
Again, do you guys just want to quickly introduce yourselves?
Sure. Yeah. So I'm Harrison. I am the only consistent member of the Peach these days, and grew up in New Jersey, and it's not that bad. And I went to Middlebury College, which is where I met Thomas and a lot of the other people who are in the Giant Peach. And we just like to peel back the layers of subjective detail and give you guys stories that everybody can relate to. And that's what we're here to do today.
Wonderful. Do you want to kick off with a song so people can get an idea of what your music's about?
Sure. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name's Thomas. I am the cohesive piece of the broken social scene. People are moving away, but I just moved to Burlington and have started to do some vocals and piano with the Giant Peach.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Right. This song's called Sleepless. It's the eponymous single from an upcoming album of ours. I wrote it very late at night. Well, I can't sleep again. Sounds like the sky is coming down outside. It's drowning out this restless time, and you're on my mind. I thought the distance might have kept you, but I missed you since I left you even more. So if I drive these 30 miles and we grin, pour some chai and then say hi, how have you been? Wrap me in your arms and ask, how have you been? Well, I've been fine, but I sleep much worse without you, babe. Sleep much worse without you. And I've been trying, and I know that how we left things wasn't good at all. But hear this, and you should recall the times that we've had when we danced in the rain together. Hey, the weather wasn't ever all that bad. So when I drive these 30 miles and we grin, pour some chai and then say hi, how have you been? Maybe, darling, would you kiss me once again? 'Cause I've been trying. You know I sleep much worse without you, babe. I sleep much worse without you. Without you. I can't sleep, So I'm dreaming, I'm writing songs I'll never sing to you. I know the wrongs I did to you are done. So are we. But while you're fast asleep and far away, you got me sleepless thinking, babe. You are driving me wild. You are, yeah. You are driving me wild. You are, yeah. You are driving me wild. You are, yeah. You are driving me wild, babe. You are, yeah. You are driving me wild. You are, yeah. You are driving me wild. You are, yeah. You are driving me wild. You are driving me wild. No, I see much worse without you, babe. I see much worse without you.
Giant Peach there. So as you were just mentioning, you've gone through quite a few iterations since your inception. How did this all start? Who's come in? Who's go out? And yeah, where are you at now?
All right. Well, the Giant Peach got us started at Middlebury College. It was in my senior year, so it was kind of probably the latest we could have done it. I had been playing with the idea of doing music for a long time. I was a music major, and I had a bunch of songs that I was sitting on. They were the first songs I'd ever written, and I got my best buddy, Max Joshua, who is a tremendous musician, like the absolute best.
Best guitarist I know.
Best guitarist, yeah. And we know some good guitarists. And we were really lucky to get Max on board, and he and I got together, and over the course of a semester just recorded an entire set of songs in my dorm room. It was our first experience making music together and recording music, and we ended up tracking it twice. Some of those songs 3 times, because it turns out it's really hard. But we did end up with a good sounding record, and we released that. It's called Pulling Teeth, and that was sort of the debut of the Peach. But then we had this problem, because we had all these songs, and we had no way to perform them. We didn't have a live band. It was just Max and I in a dorm room, and we brought in as many of our friends as we could. So out of that grew this scene of people. We have a bunch of different friends, some of whom come from backgrounds in classical music. Our violinist and sometimes keyboardist, Gloria Breck, is a really, really tremendous classical musician, both on violin and the piano. Max, on the other hand, comes from a blues background. I was predominantly a mediocre jazz pianist before this. We have Mike Nunziante from a band called Alpaca, which is a really sort of compassionate and heart-forward folk band. And it just kind of became this sort of mishmash from a bunch of different genres, and we all brought what we had from our respective musical backgrounds, but despite that we all spoke the same language. And it was really amazing to get into a room with all these people and be able to make music. And then along the way we picked up Jacob Joshua, who plays drums. We have Liam Lundell. He plays the bass for us now, and he's the most solid bassist I know. And we've also collaborated with other people along the way. We brought in Pat Freeman from the Fever Dolls on the drums a couple weeks ago, subbing in. And most recently we got Thomas.
Hey.
Welcome, Thomas. And so you found Thomas at Middlebury. And so, Thomas, what do you do at Middlebury?
So I just graduated in May, but Harrison and I both were in the a cappella scene
don't talk
at
about
Middlebury.
Jeez.
So, I mean, he said he came from jazz. I truly don't know what my music background would be besides a cappella. I love music. I've been singing my whole life. My parents both singing, play some piano and guitar, but it has very much been about vocals for me. But Harrison and I just connected. I literally ran into him on a run, and we were like, "Hey, we should get together." Yeah. And
You guys having a big conversation while running?
Sort of short. It was an abbreviated conversation,
right?
But we
between
made
pants.
plans for a longer conversation in the future.
And realized that we really both enjoyed playing together, and
Yeah.
our voices sound good together.
Yeah, Thomas was certainly someone I was sort of peripherally aware of at Middlebury, just by virtue of running in similar circles. But we probably had our first conversation pretty recently, which has been a blessing.
Now we're conversing music.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as you were mentioning, there was a lot of people on that first album. I was reading in the 7 Days review of it that there was over a dozen instruments that were, some of which are all on one track. As your first foray into recording, as well as just recording an album, how did you find putting that many layers onto a tune? Was this the first time you've done this, or have you experimented this before on your own in your own time?
I've definitely been experimenting with recording and producing music since I was in high school, and my uncle got me a sort of digital audio workstation software just to play around with. But this was a new endeavor for sure. Recording drums seems to be the most confusing combination of art and science, and I still don't think that I've totally cracked it. And yeah, we tried to bring in as many people as possible. I think oftentimes my imagination is more elaborate than my sort of capability, execution can keep up with, and that certainly has been evident in the music that I've created. I often am trying to balance this broad vision that I have in my head with the sort of technological and ability concerns that I have in the present. But it's something that we're getting better at. And this new album that we're working on, Sleepless, is a much more cohesive piece of work, both in terms of songwriting and sonically, recording-wise. It's much more atmospheric and textural, and I feel like we're getting closer to matching the map of the music I have in my head to the sort of territory that we're producing, which is exciting.
How much of it is that kind of map in your head, and how much of it is influence from the other musicians that kind of come into it? So how many kind of like layers are you actually kind of like creating and going, right, I need you to record it like this, and then how much is other people's influence?
Certainly everything that's special about the Giant Peach comes out of the fact that this is a collective of people and everybody's bringing their own ideas. That's something that I believe in wholeheartedly. I have a little historical tidbit that the Enlightenment is sort of correlated with the rise of the coffee shop. It's generally attributed to two things. The first is that people weren't constantly drinking beer anymore, which, as you can imagine, is actually pretty good for critical thinking. But secondly, because people could get together in coffee shops and hang out and have conversations and share ideas. And I think I've had the occasional good musical idea, but it was nothing compared to what I've been able to come up with when working with my friends and people who are able to bring their own cool things and say, oh, that's really awesome, what if we did this thing? That makes a lot of good noises.
Just a couple nights ago, before Thanksgiving, we got together with Max, who was visiting from LA, and we're putting on harmonies for one of the songs on the new album. And it was exactly that. It's very much a collaborative effort. Everyone is saying, ooh, what if it sounded like this? And now there's a part in there with 3-part harmonies that just weren't there 2 weeks ago because we were all in the same room. Mm-hmm. It's a really fun process.
It's very exciting.
So you're mentioning this, the new album you got coming out, Sleepless, and I was reading that you're looking to get this out 2019.
Yep.
Which makes sense as we're almost there already. Sonically speaking, how different is it? Is it even genre? Is it like genre-wise? Is it quite different, or have you kind of got your kind of core that you stick to genre-wise, or are you kind of meandering off into a different direction now?
I think that the genre, which is something I've always struggled with, I guess I have trouble putting myself in a box, is certainly clarified. The vision of the Giant Peach has been clarified in Sleepless. A listen to Pulling Teeth makes it very clear that this is an eclectic work. It travels from pretty straightforward indie rock to folk and to avant-garde jazz-influenced art rock, and then to a jazz trio at the end of the album, and it flips on a dime. And all of those elements are still there and on Sleepless, but the packaging is tighter. I think I've come to realize the Giant Peach as a band that takes its cues primarily from folk music. These are folk sentiments and folk melodies that we're singing at you, but that is packaged like indie rock and pop, and understanding how those elements work together in concert, has been a journey, and I think we're starting to get there. So I'm very excited about Sleepless. It's certainly a much more mature and cohesive project than Pulling Teeth was, and it's its own animal. It's very exciting.
Well, I'd love to hear another song off the new album, or
great.
even off Pulling Teeth. I mean, whatever you've got next for us.
Why don't we take it back to Pulling Teeth?
Yeah.
Great. And then we'll finish with a new one from Sleepless.
So, what would this? So, do you want to announce the next track and maybe give us a bit of a background on it?
Oh yeah. So this song is called Over Again. It is a song about regret, and everything in this song happens twice.
All right.
Musical punning. Wrapped up in each other on a Sunday night. We've shut the doors and we've closed the blinds, and you call me honey like you always do. Well, honey, honey, can you tell me what's on your mind? Is there a reason you won't meet my eye? What's wrong? You're asking, so I tell you. Damn, well I did it wrong, did it again. Is this the end? I guess I said it first. I take it back as if I hadn't quite done enough. I didn't mean it, I didn't mean it. God damn, well I did it wrong, I did it again. Is this the end? I guess I said it first. I take it back as if I hadn't quite done enough. I didn't mean it, I didn't mean it, I didn't mean it. Hey, let's do it over again. Hey, let's do it over again. Guess you weren't expecting all the things I said. You're using your hands to try and hide your head, but I know, can see it in your shoulders. Now I'm realizing I didn't really think this through. I start to crumble as I'm watching you, and I guess that I won't get another chance. did it wrong, did it again. It's just the end. I guess I said it first. I take it back as if I hadn't quite done enough. I didn't mean it, I didn't mean it. Goddamn, well I did it wrong, I did it again. It's just the end. I guess I said it first. I take it back as if I hadn't quite done enough. I didn't mean it, I didn't mean it, I didn't mean it. Hey, let's do it over again. Hey, let's do it over again and again and again and again and again. Hey, let's do it over again. Let's do it again.
Giant Peach there with a song from their first album. Oh, I've still got the reverb on. I sound very echoey now. And that was called
Over Again.
Over Again.
Yeah.
I should have gathered that one. And so you're saying in that song there's a lot of regret in it. But your first album, it was billed as a breakup album.
People have been saying that, yeah.
Oh, so that I thought that's how you described it.
I guess I must have at some point because everybody seems to have come to that conclusion. Yeah, I don't know if I have read a single review in which it wasn't described as an album about love lost. And I suppose that's accurate. It's really an album about expectation and idealism, and there's a healthy dose of cynicism in it. It's I guess in a lot of ways it's sort of Bill Dungserman. It's a coming of age story. It's about losing the stars from your eyes and sort of taking off the rose-colored glasses, I guess. And Sleepless, our next album, is certainly something that is reckoning with the wake of that. It's about finding a new place in the world and sort of understanding the world through a new lens. And it's much more uncertain and anxious voice on that record.
So the first album's kind of realizing that life isn't this Disney glorified kind of idealized world, and then the next album maybe is a little bit more mature. And
I certainly think so.
Yeah.
I hope so. If it's a step backwards, then I'm definitely doing something wrong. But it feels to me and to my ear to be more mature, both musically and in terms of the kinds of stories I have to tell and the way that I'm telling those stories.
so are the stories you draw from mainly person-to-person interactions, or is there more individual stories in there as well?
Well, I think we should be clear that this is fiction. There's a large degree of autobiographical sort of compression in the narrative there, and these experiences are real, and the feelings are real and come straight from my life. But the scenarios that they explore are not always true to life, and they're generally about me, really just looking for a way to talk about myself. Oftentimes there are other parties involved within the narrative, but they serve as an impetus for exploration of the self. And I think that's, from a narrative point of view, I think it's more interesting, certainly, because everybody knows their own personal struggles. Everybody's wrestling with something about themselves and how they relate to the world and where their place is, where they should plant their 2 feet and where they should want to be. But the specifics of a certain interpersonal interaction, those don't always generalize. I think the details that are in the songs on Sleepless and the stories that I have to tell help ground those feelings in something tangible and make them relatable in that sense. But at the end of the day, I think the more interesting story is about the self and the things we all feel.
I feel like it's a rarity that an album gets titled before it's finished. What's the story behind the title of Sleepless?
Well, definitely had the title from the get-go. I wrote this song, Sleepless, the first song that we played tonight, and I knew that that was the concept. I've always had a fascination with sleep. I think that most people who can't get any are. And it's completely tied to where I am, to my state in the world. And oftentimes I will be up late at night mulling things over helplessly. I'd much rather be asleep, but that seems to be, there's just the perfect amount of emotional valence when you're sleep deprived to travel deeper and deeper into the rabbit hole of your own thoughts, and also to put them into music. And these songs are united by the fact that they're all written late at night while I was digging holes into my own consciousness.
I have heard that the most creative hour of the day is between 4 a.m. and 5.
Oh,
The witching hour, if you will.
yeah. Unfortunately, I do know about that. It's the most productive hour for having an idea, but I think the most productive hours for clarifying that idea generally happen during the daylight. Although whenever it strikes you is the best time to work, I guess. Whenever the muse is in the room.
Yeah, I suppose it's maybe just where you get the strike of genius, and then it takes a clear head to be able to refine it. Is the rest of the band insomniatic as well?
I don't know.
I generally do fine sleeping. However, I do follow ideas late into the night. I think that in my own creative process, I typically won't stop to sleep, and I can't stop to sleep if an idea feels like it's coming through me.
Yeah, so that bears saying that Thomas is also a pretty tremendous producer and songwriter in his own right.
I'm exploring that a lot more.
He's exploring that a lot more.
You got a solo?
I have mostly been working on solo stuff. Nothing released. Hopefully, some things released in 2019 as well. But we'll save that for later discussion.
Oh, we'll have to get you in when you've got something out. That'll be great.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Do most of the rest of the band have their own project as well?
Yeah, so Joshua is the guy we got to mention. He's out in LA doing it for real. Not that we're not doing it for real. We're doing it for real here. But Max just moved out there. He's making very, very cool mix of pop and rock music. And he's incubating an EP right now, and I'm very excited to hear what he comes up with in the end of it. He's been writing great songs for a long time, some of which have found their way onto our next record. We have a song from Max called Last Chance to Come Away. It's probably the most easy to love song on the record for me because I didn't write it. And also because it's great. And the other person that we should certainly mention is Mike Nunziante, who is part of a band called Alpaca. They write very heartwarming folk music. Mike is one of the most golden-hearted people you'll ever meet, and you can sense that just sheer compassion radiating off him whenever you see him. And it comes through in their music. They write. It's just a tremendous amount of compassion. I don't know how to say it otherwise. There's so much universal experience in their music, and people love it. They've got a show tomorrow at Middlebury. I'm going to be playing bass.
Oh, nice.
With my sliced up finger.
Oh, yes. You were just mentioning before the show that you had a bit of a snafu.
Yeah, I did have a bit of a snafu today. I was at work and I cut my finger open from tip to tail, basically. Ooh. But I glued it back shut so I could play here tonight, because that's the level of dedication we have.
What end of the finger is the tail?
That's actually a really confusing question. It's certainly not how I meant it.
I got to ask you about the name of the band, Giant Peach. I'm a big fan of Roald Dahl. I was read Roald Dahl a lot as a kid, so I'm really hoping that is what the inspiration's from, but if it's not, please break my heart.
We are trying to break your heart, but it does come from Roald Dahl. In high school, I had this idea to start a band called James and the Giant Peach and to write a record called Rhinoceros. but the Roald Dahl estate quickly intervened on that idea. I guess there's this thing called copyright law.
Yeah.
But
Did you get like a cease and desist letter?
no, not a cease and desist letter, just like you shouldn't do this letter. There are actually plenty of bands called James and the Giant Peach, so it turns out we're relatively lucky in that regard to have gone with the Giant Peach. So when we were starting this band, almost a year ago, I guess, we just couldn't quite find a name, and there's something about the Giant Peach that seemed to summon the right collection of colors in our minds, and we just went with it. And
Maybe because you also have an eclectic mix of musicians around you, like, you know, James.
Spiders and
yeah.
grasshoppers.
Ladybirds.
Yeah. They're both stories about people who find themselves in a situation and then go off on a fantastical adventure and meet many people and warm their hearts and then settle down in the middle of Central Park. So that's the end of the story. That's
Nice.
Gonna be living in Central Park.
I also noticed you've got some wonderful posters that have been created for various shows that you've had.
Thanks.
So I was wondering, you know, who's the artist? I mean, in the drawing sense rather than musical sense in the band. Is it yourself?
Yeah. So the posters are a bit of a side project. I suppose everybody needs a hobby, right? And I like to doodle, especially during class, and a lot of those sort of margin musings have turned into ideas that became the album art for Sleepless and Pulling Teeth. We've got a single that's going to come out in a couple of weeks, and I was just doing a little painting for that. So yeah, I worked as a graphic designer when I was in college, so there's a bit of background there.
You've kind of run the gamut in terms of your college career.
Yeah.
You were saying just before the show that you're now a PhD in neuroscience.
Yeah. So I'm very lucky to be at the University of Vermont. I'm doing a PhD in neuroscience there. I'm surrounded by a bunch of really fantastic scientists, often feeling out of my depth, which is a good feeling to have. And yeah, that's my day to day. I guess it seems like a lot of different things, but really they're all kind of the same thing. I have this idea that science and art are both ways of looking for the truth. It's just that one is a subjective claim and the other is an objective claim. So science looks at the world that we all share externally, the one that we're walking around in and interacting in, and art looks at the world internally. It's the state of things inside.
Mm-hmm. You need both.
And you need both. You can't have outside without inside.
Exactly.
That's just science. So tell me a little bit more about what you've got coming up. So you're aiming to get your album out, Sleepless, next year. Any kind of date on that? Have you got anything set in stone, or is it still a bit nebulous?
Yeah, they do want the inside scoop, but we are on air. That's a loud secret to have. Sleepless, the future of Sleepless is unclear. We have, I think, larger aspirations for it than we did with Pulling Teeth, and so it's a little bit open-ended as to through what veins that will end up reaching the public, but it certainly will end up reaching the public one way or another. On the other hand, we have the single I-89 that we're going to be putting out just into the world in just a couple weeks. December 14th is the date we've decided on for that, and we're very excited about that song. It pits solitude, and the sort of ruminative feeling of going nowhere against the Vermont landscape in the face of a fresh snow. So it's very topical for the environment we find ourselves in today.
Hence I-89 as well.
Yes. Yeah, I just had a very scary drive down I-89 in the middle of a blizzard last week, actually. And it's definitely taken me back to other times I've done that.
I've done a full 360 on the I-89 before. And
Have you?
My friend's car as well. Luckily there was nothing behind me for a good mile or so, but yeah, it was quite the experience.
Just pulling some tricks, showing off in the snow.
Just doing donuts casually on the interstate.
Middle of the highway.
Yeah. And I also read that you got a residency coming up. So tell me a bit more
We do
about
have a
that.
residency coming up. We're going to be at the Radio Bean. It's where we played our first show, and it's where we're going to do our first residency, it seems. So we'll be there every Thursday of January. This is a great month to do it because it turns out there are actually 6 Thursdays in January. So you'll have 6 opportunities to catch us there. I think we're on at 7 p.m. And yeah, we're going to try to do something different every week. So it'll be, even if you're hearing the same songs and the same ideas, they're going to be articulated in totally different ways. And it's a great opportunity for us to explore a lot of the stuff that doesn't make it onto the record, or the more choreographed live shows that you see. This is a bit of a freer form experiment that we're going to be going on.
And is it going to be just the two of you? Are you going to be adding other musicians into it? How many, or is it going to change from week to week?
From week to week, I think it'll be whoever can come, whoever's in the family, they'll be making an appearance. So it could be anything from a sort of jazzier, pared back thing, to having the violin and the slide guitar, a more folk ensemble, or like what you guys are hearing today. We're going all over the place.
Wonderful. And any other gigs apart from the residency coming up?
I think that's it on the books right now. We've got some other things that are in the work for the spring, but we've been playing, the band is a little scattered. So we've got some members who are abroad, eating lots of good food, and other members who are moving around. So the lineup is not set in a hard and fast way, which is exciting.
Yeah.
But we've certainly been taking a break from the live performances, just in the process of recording this album and figuring out where we're going to go next.
It sounds like you collaborate with a lot of exciting people.
I certainly do, yeah. I'm very, very lucky in that regard.
The downside of being friends with exciting people is they're often doing their own thing.
Yes, absolutely, yeah. I didn't know that Thomas was coming tonight until earlier this afternoon, so it's
This is true.
a bit of a last-minute thing. But that's the beauty of it, is we have people who know our music all over the place, and they're always ready to hop in and be a part of the show.
You can always just lasso one of them and bring them to your next project.
Yeah.
Well, before I get you to play your last song, do you want to plug some of your social media and where you can find your previous record and where we'll be able to find your next record?
Oh, sure. Yeah, so we are almost always at the Giant Peach Band. Don't forget the because if you just search Giant Peach, you're going to get a sort of hardcore band from Brooklyn. And they're quite good, but it's a different scene. Our music, so if you check out our website, thegiantpeachband.com, we're on Instagram at thegiantpeachband. Any major music platform, you can find our music, our first record, Pulling Teeth, and all of the music that is coming. We have a total backlog of it, so we're very excited about that. And that would be great. Anything you is tune in, stick with us, and tell people about our music. So go follow us on Spotify, go follow us on Instagram, join our newsletter, do all the things. And check out the sort of scene that's growing around the Giant Peach as well. Check out Alpaca Music, do a casual Facebook stalk of Max Joshua, and just sort of see what's out there. Because there's a lot out there that's ready to be loved.
Wonderful. Well, I'd love to hear one last song from you. Do you want to introduce it and maybe give it a bit of background to it?
Sure. This one's called Whatever I've Got. I guess it's about loneliness. It's about loneliness, and it's about the lies that we tell ourselves to convince ourselves that things are all good when they're not. They are all good.
Fake it till you make it.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's the the emotional note that we wanted to end on for you guys. This is called Whatever I've Got. Yesterday, I watched the sun creep through my room. I prayed that sleep would find me soon, or even dreaming of evening, keeping all these thoughts at bay. people say, seems you know everyone here. Can you imagine somebody to be alone and know there's no one left to save you? Anyway, I try to trust in. I clutch my fabrications near and pull them close, as if the truth could give a damn about my comfort. And I'll be fine in the end. I know I'll be fine at the end of this. I'll be fine with whatever I've got. Just give it to me now. I'm okay. I keep my head and heart from sinking. I never let myself think all that much about it. I don't doubt that things are just the way they should be. Yesterday, I reached a hand out in the night. Felt a shoulder pull back right as I grew near, and asked myself, what have you gotten yourself into? And we'll be fine in the end. I know you'll be fine at the end of this. I'll be fine with whatever I get. Just give it to me now. I know you've been counting down the days. I know it's getting to you too. I know the truth is coming due. I've been thinking about leaving for a matter of months, 'cause this is driving me crazy, and enough is enough. I try to say how I feel, but that's just pushing my luck. I'll be fine in the end. I know I'll be fine at the end of this. I'll be fine with whatever I've got. Just give it to me now.
Giant peach there with whatever I've got. Thank you guys so much for coming in. This has been wonderful. No worries. Certainly go check them out when they've got their residency at Radio Bean. You can also find them on Spotify. And yeah, I'm looking forward to your new album coming out. So when it does, please come back in again.
Thanks, Tom.
No worries. This has been The Rocket Shop. Next week we have got Antara coming in. So stick around for that next week. Thank you guys all for listening tonight, and I'll take you back then.